Welcome to the ESPC Property Show. It's Megan.
And it's Paul. Hello. We've done a switcheroo.
Yeah.
And it takes a bit of getting used to.
Yes, today's episode is one of our most popular topics from last season. We're covering our first time buyer special.
We cover a lot of ground, don't they? I mean, there's plenty of nuggets in here if you're a first time buyer. Yeah. We talk about the market. We give you some top tips. Again, the question of heart versus head comes up.
Yeah.
But it was a really good episode.
Yeah, we really break down the process of buying your home for the first time, and I think, covering things like what you should ask at a viewing, to how much money you should have saved. I think, it's really valuable information, and without further ado, we'll just pass over to the guys.
Here's the show. We have two very special guests to talk about first-time buyers. I will let the ladies introduce themselves. So to my right.
Hi, I'm Amy Howard. I'm from Neilsons Solicitors and Estate Agents.
Good.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Keegan and I'm from Gillespie Macandrew, Solicitors and Estate Agents.
Welcome both. Have you been on the show before? I'm trying to remember. I think no we've done other things on camera, but that sounds a bit suspicious, doesn't it? We might edit that out, but we certainly haven't been on. Right, well, welcome to the show. Okay, well, I'll get the ball rolling.
Yeah,
first
absolutely.
question. So, first question again. Well, this is all about first-time buyers, and it's trying to stand in the shoes of a first-time buyer and give them some really good, solid advice. So, what's the first thing a first-time buyer should do when they decide they'd like to become a homeowner? So when they've made that decision, I think I know the answer to this, but I'll let you elaborate.
I would say appoint a solicitor. You cannot buy or sell property in Scotland without the services of a solicitor. So getting a good one at the outset is absolutely fundamental to how the whole process is going to go. So getting quotes from different solicitors, finding one that you can trust, speak to the ESPC. We've got this incredible resource here in Edinburgh with the Property Information Centre that you can pop in, and they will put you in touch with solicitors, ESPC member firms, chartered member firms who are adhering to certain quality standards as well. So getting a good solicitor from an ESPC chartered firm at the very outset, I think is a sensible first step, and they can really help you put everything else in place.
Sure. Well, that's a comprehensive answer.
It is. No, I totally agree. I think the other thing I would say is a good mortgage broker.
Yes.
Like the guys here at ESPC, because you have to understand, and I think it's really hard for first time buyers to get their head around what their affordability is against what they can actually borrow, because that you can afford a certain amount, but then it's based obviously on the home report value too. And I think for me, as a solicitor, speaking with clients, they really struggle with that, and I think that's why they need a quality mortgage broker.
Yeah, and so somebody who's looking at whole of market rather than just
absolutely. Yeah, I would always say to clients, speak to a mortgage broker rather than just your bank, because they deal with whole markets, get the best rates for you, and can help actually tailor it to your situation, because everybody's so different now. But I think those two things would be key.
Great. Yeah. We're 3 minutes in. We didn't rehearse. There's been 2 plugs for ESPC. This is going really, really well. Can I just clarify that point then? So I think you were saying, Amy, go early, talk to solicitor, estate agent early. When does the meter start running, or when does the client expect to pay for some of these services? Is that
so? The great thing about the vast majority of ESPC member firms, like Neilsons, is that initial consultation's absolutely free of charge. Mm-hmm. You're not looking at paying fees until you're actually securing the property that you want to buy. So you can use that solicitor as a sounding board. You can get good quality professional advice on what to offer for a property, what conditions to put in that offer if necessary, should it be subject to additional surveys or roof reports or damp inspections or whatever it might be, and they'll give you all of that advice absolutely free of charge. So they're there to be able to use them, and that's one of the great things about the Scottish system, where you're putting in an offer that's coming in writing from a solicitor. That solicitor is representing you. The estate agent who's selling the property is representing the seller. The seller's paying their fees, they're acting in the seller's best interests. So by getting your own solicitor and your own independent advice, you're going to be able to make a really well-informed decision on what to buy.
Yeah, I mean, you're on the side of your clients, aren't you, Caitlin?
Absolutely,
and absolutely. Just your clients.
Yeah, no, that's it. We work in their best interests, and as Amy said, estate agent, whilst they're helpful and friendly and will give you advice, they are ultimately acting for the seller, and our job is to protect the purchaser's interest. And we do this all day, every day. And for a first-time buyer, it's a scary prospect, and you're spending the biggest amount of money you'll ever spend. Yeah. So you need somebody who knows the market, has good knowledge, and is able to explain things to you at easy fashion. You know, I have clients that say to me, I don't understand what any of these legal things mean. But that's our job. That's why they're pissed.
You didn't say me too, no.
Some days, Paul. But that's our job, is to, you know, navigate them through it and help them understand it in a language they understand.
Sure. Understood. No, good answer. Thank you.
Yeah, so many people are obviously saving up in order to buy a property, but how would a first-time buyer know that they're in a position to buy? Like, how would they know that they've reached the right amount to come to market, to look around?
I think it comes down to the affordability first and what they can afford, you know, and the way to do that is speak to a mortgage broker like ESPC Mortgages. I think understanding how much money you've got, what you're able to borrow, it helps then figure out all the other things, like where you can afford to buy, you know, how much in terms of bedrooms and things like that. But I think the first part is really money, and then just getting somebody on board, you know, a solicitor, to just get your knowledge more in terms of area and things like that.
Yeah, I think as well, thinking about the money that you'll need in addition to your deposit and the purchase price of the property, the money that you'll need for land and buildings transaction tax, the money that you'll need for legal fees, the money you'll need for mortgage arrangement fees, or if any additional surveys might be needed to be carried out, plus the kind of detail of fixtures and fittings and furniture that you'll need to buy, the council tax that you'll need to pay, potential factoring fees that you might need to pay, you know, your monthly bills, like all of these things. If you sit down with a mortgage broker at the very outset, they'll work out all of that for you, so that you look at, you know, the lifestyle that you want to have as well as the property that you want to have it in, and what makes that affordable and sensible. And from there you can really work back to, well, that means I've got X deposit, and also looking at where that deposit's coming from, if it's being gifted by a family member, what scrutiny is going to need to be applied to that money. You know, those gifters will have to go through anti-money laundering compliance and sort of teeing them up to do that, so that there's a paper trail of where those funds are coming from. Getting all of that done at the outset will save you time and heartache later on as well.
And stress.
And stress for your solicitor as well. Yeah.
Something I was going to ask as well, it's actually a question that my friend who's a first time buyer asked me last night. She was wondering, so she's got a Help to Buy ISA account, and they obviously top up, I think it's 25% up to £12,000, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So she was asking, can you use that additional, that money, does that have to go on the deposit, or can that be used towards things like solicitor's fees? Or
you have to use the money from the deposit to buy the house. So it has to form part of the price.
Yeah.
So you have, but then you'll probably have savings from elsewhere that you can sort of divert elsewhere, or say if you're getting a gift from parents, you could use that gift rather than for the deposit. You could use that for like furniture, or for your tax, or for different bits and pieces that you'll need. Yeah. But the Help to Buy bonus money has to be used for the purchase. Yeah.
Okay, no, that's great. That's
Good.
just
We've
a
all learned
recent
something
question.
there.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've done your research, you've worked out your budget, you feel you can buy. Exciting.
Yeah.
Which areas would you recommend to first-time buyers? When we say recommend, I mean that, you know, it's not a absolute guarantee, but you know,
tricky,
where would you say?
Because again, it comes back to the lifestyle that you want to have, as well as the property that you want to have it in. You could move much further out of the city centre and get a much bigger property, but if that means you're spending your life commuting back into the city centre to go to work, to see your friends, to live, you know, your lifestyle, then has it been worth it? Probably not. Probably buy something smaller in a more central location is the better answer. The other thing to consider is where you see yourself in 2 years, where you see yourself in 5 years. Are you planning a family? Are you planning on getting pets? How is that property going to work for you in, you know, the short and longer term as well? And I think that really helps inform a decision on where to buy. Edinburgh has loads of excellent areas for first-time buyers. You know, there's really great affordable areas. One of the things that I would recommend doing is looking along the tram line, the areas that are then really well connected, speedy access to the city centre, but, you know, out to the west where you've got a good choice of sort of ex-local authority housing and things like that, where you might get a bit more property for your money than you would by buying a smaller property in a more central location, but still really well connected, is worth looking at. And obviously we've got the new tram extension down to Newhaven now as well. Really affordable areas like Granton and Newhaven that offer you a wonderful lifestyle with, you know, waterfront amenities nearby and things like that are really worth looking into too.
Yeah, I think it's difficult too because the range what first-time buyers now buy in is much bigger than it used to be. You know, sort of when everybody years ago used to buy, you sort of was pretty standard one-bed flat. Sure. You know, they had a limited budget. It's so different now because people earn at varying degrees now, and also a lot of first-time buyers, you know, they get gifts from parents or they've inherited from grandparents or, you know, an aunt or something. So people end up having money they didn't necessarily expect to have, which increases their budget, which is great. Definitely, like Gillespie Macandrew, we have first-time buyers, you know, a sort of at, you know, the 200, 300,000, but we're also seeing ones at 500 to 600,000. You know, so it depends on that, and obviously depending on your budget is then where you can buy. So I think it's very tailored to the actual person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right, isn't it? It's per client. Interesting what you say though, isn't it? Around think about where you want to be in 3 years' time, because there are quite a bit of expense when you buy now, particularly if you're paying LBTT and the threshold and the like. So, you know, you could sink quite a few thousand in and then move in a year's time or 2 years' time, pay early redemption penalty on your mortgage, etc. And so all this needs to be considered again at the outset. Bit of a theme here about planning ahead.
It is. It's been well organised, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, and
absolutely.
you know, it's probably going to be your biggest asset, so it makes sense to take time to think about it and consider it carefully.
Yeah. And when you think about how long you spend actually physically looking at the property, it's not long, is it?
Yeah, it's not long at all.
It really isn't.
No.
Is it?
It's not. It's minutes for them to splash out, you know, a couple 100,000 or whatever you spend. Yeah.
I know. And then, you know, I was buying some running shoes the other day and you think, I'll be in there 20 minutes, half an hour. Just, you know, yeah. And when you don't got a home report on a pair of running shoes, so there you go. Anyway.
So if a first-time buyer is heading out to view some properties, what are the questions that they should be asking at viewings when they're viewing properties?
Well, there's so much to
Yeah,
there's so
I mean,
much. You could be
there's
there for
stuff
hours.
they should be doing ahead of the viewing as well, scrutinising the home report, because that might throw up things that you want to ask questions about. Reading carefully through the property questionnaire that's been completed by the sellers as well can lead to interesting questions. I think that, you know, the ones that I'd sort of thought about were the questions of the sellers on a kind of personal level from them. If you're meeting them, when is it that they want to move? Where is it that they're moving to? Find out about their move and their time scale, because that will help inform you what date of entry to put in your offer, as well as the amount of money that you're going to offer. You're going to be considering the date of entry that you'll offer them, and you might be able to make your offer more favourable by tweaking it to their circumstances. Also finding out about their reason for moving. You know, what are the neighbours like? What's the neighbourhood like? There might be great things about the neighbourhood that they've, you know, always walk to a local bakery on a Sunday morning and it's been a real lifestyle thing for them that you might not know about the area. So sort of really drilling into the things that they've loved about the property are worth finding out, as well as the sort of more technical things about the building, etc., that the home report will throw up.
Yeah, I think so. I think first viewings, it's very much with the heart, isn't it? That where you're going in and, you know, I have clients for me, I love this, I have to have it type thing. And then when you look at the home report and say, well, you know, it says maybe there's a 2 for damp. Did you see anything? And I know a lot of first-time buyers are like, I don't know. You know, and then you see things about, you know, some of the windows are sticking. Did you open any of the windows? And, you know, I know I was sort of bringing them back down to earth slightly, but those are the things that when they move in will annoy them straight away. Yeah. So it's better, you know, it's easier for us as solicitors to be able to deal with those things up front than then after, you know, completion. So I always say to my clients, look, you've absolutely love it, but go back with the head this time and have a look around, open the windows, open the cupboard doors, you know, ask the technical questions as well, because all the things are really important.
Yeah, such good advice, isn't it? We debated a lot between the heart and the head, haven't we, about, you know. In fact, which does bring me on to this question, and I think I already know the start of the answer to this, or I'll ask you anyway. If a first-time buyer has falling in love with a property, and I think what you're saying is don't fall in love with a property.
but keep sensible.
How did they go about making the actual offer?
So if they've fallen in love with the property, I would always say, act quickly, because whilst, the market changes, and sometimes it's a buyer's market, sometimes it's a seller's market, if you fall in love, there's a high chance that maybe somebody else has fallen in love with it too.
Actually, sorry, Kate, can I just ask you then, do you think that's at first viewing, or would you always advocate going back a second time? Or you get your foot in the door? Or
it tends to vary for me from client to client. Some clients, they phone me and say, I've seen this property, I've fallen in love with it. And when we talk through it, I can see that they've really checked everything, looked at everything, thought it through. If other clients, I would say, right, okay, well, what did you think about this? And then sometimes they'll say, they become a wee bit unsure maybe during the call. But what we say is then, why don't we note interest? Get back on the phone, arrange another viewing as soon as possible, because we don't want to miss out on this, and then take it from there.
And just for those that, sorry Amy, I'll come to you in a moment, but just for those that wouldn't be aware, noting interest means? So
noting interest is, it doesn't oblige you to make an offer, but what it does is it tells the seller that you're seriously interested and are considering an offer.
Just pull the market down, really.
Exactly, and it lets the seller then keep you informed. Whilst you have a note of interest, the seller can still accept an offer from another party, so it's really important to be clear on that. But at least you're letting the seller know that you're seriously interested.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, Amy.
I was going to just say that about notes of interest, that, it's an intention to offer, but it's not, you're not legally bound to do anything having noted interest. You don't have to put in an offer. You can withdraw your note of interest. Solicitors like Neilsons won't charge you for noting interest in a property either. So, just getting that note in is almost like a holding,
it is,
a holding ticket.
It's a
on
good
the
strategy,
property.
isn't it?
It's a good strategy, and
is.
obviously your solicitor at that point can give you advice on the property at that stage as well. So if you have fallen in love with it, get on the phone to your solicitor straight away.
Yeah, absolutely, straight away.
And then Caitlin will get a checklist out.
Exactly. I know, I sound very serious, don't I? Sensible. But
did you meet the neighbours? Have you done it?
Did you open the windows?
Okay.
I imagine as well, just for reference as well, that you should let your solicitor know ahead of viewing that you're going to view a property, just so that they are ready for questions. Is that a requirement?
It's difficult. Some clients do, and some clients will email me and say, I've seen this property, I'm going to see it next Tuesday, what do you think of it? And I will have a very quick look and say, well, it looks good. I've had a very quick, high level view of the home report, have a look at this. Other clients don't, they just get in touch and say, I saw this property last night, what do we need to do? Could you deal with it straight away? So I think it comes down to people. Some people are a lot more cautious and want to know everything up front. Other people just see something in the ESPC and off they go. So it varies, but the joy is with the ESPC, straight away I can get the home report, all the contact details there if I need to phone another solicitor. We just move very quickly, but I think the key thing is get somebody decent in your corner and get a decent ESPC solicitor in your corner, and that's very important.
And I think from what you were saying there as well, it's about getting them, as Amy said early, isn't it? Because it's almost when they come to you and say, right, I've seen something, I need to make an offer. Well, you're not a client yet, so we've got other things. Yes. You really want to be...
we would prefer that is done.
Yeah.
Absolutely, we would prefer that is done, and it just takes the stress out of the situation. And it happens. First time buyer phone me, or any client will phone me and say, I've seen this house, can we make an offer? And if they're not an existing client, say, well, we need ID, we need evidence of source of funding, you're getting a gift from your parents, right? We need their ID and everything. Ideally, we want all of that in place before we even make offers.
Potentially you could be trying to gather the information, another buyer comes along ready to go.
Exactly.
And we wouldn't advocate, but that could happen. Life happens like that, doesn't it? So
it does, and our compliance requirements are so strict these days, and with the Law Society and just in general in the world, we're very compliance heavy now. So if somebody gets in touch with us and says we're thinking of buying a house, we're just starting to look, we can get all of that done and dusted, so that when they phone me and say, we've seen this house, all I need to do is look at the house, pick up the phone, and I don't need to think about ID and compliance. And it's stressful for them. I have to say we don't really enjoy it either, but it happens and we can do it. But I think for a buyer, for a client, it's much easier if it's all done.
I think we'll call this the Go Early episode.
Yeah.
Which that was amazing.
Everything done.
It's a working title.
So if a first-time buyer's offer has been accepted, what is the process in Scotland? What kind of happens from there, from an accepted offer?
Missives? I mean, this is everything you're thinking.
Missives. So, once an offer is accepted, I would say to my client, right, what will happen now is the offer's been verbally accepted, but we'll get a formal written acceptance in the title deed so we can start the conveyancing process. And so I'd say to my client, what you need to do now is go back to your mortgage broker and say, I've had an offer accepted, here's the home report, and get going with your full mortgage application. Because before you find a property, your mortgage in principle, as it's called, is based on your affordability alone. But once the offer is accepted, you have to go back to your broker to do a full mortgage application based on your affordability and the property itself. The two then go hand in hand. So for me, that's what I always say to the client, get back to that straight away, because we need your mortgage offer as soon as possible and to be able to get into concluded missives. And whilst they're doing that, we get in the title deeds and the formal written acceptance, and we keep the conveyancing going in the meantime. But for me, that's key for them.
And how long does that process normally take?
That's the $1 billion question. It varies, and it depends what date of entry is agreed. At the minute, I'd say we're sort of running 8 to 10 weeks, maybe a bit quicker. Mortgage offers, it depends on the lender. Some we get them in really quick. Some just take a bit longer, depending on their volume of work. So it's difficult. The ideal is always to get into concluded missives as quickly as possible. I'm sure Amy will back me up on that. Always get in there as quickly as possible. But we need that mortgage offer to be able to do it, and the conveyancing needs to be fairly straightforward. If it's not, it can slow the process down. But a good solicitor keeps you informed. If we have any bumps in the road, I have to say, I'm sure other agents do the same, like we at Gillespie Macandrew, we will just say, right, this is why we're not concluding missives yet. We need this, we need alteration stuff, we need that. Communication is key, particularly for your first-time buyers, because they've never done it before.
And it'll be frustrating for them, but you are acting in their best interests, aren't you?
Yes, and sometimes you have to say to your client, look, I know all you want to do is conclude missives. You're terrified you're not going to get this house. But equally, when you come to sell, we need to make sure that, all these points are fine, otherwise it becomes your problem. And I'm not doing my job properly if we don't sort them out now.
And you mentioned the mortgage offer there, so you wouldn't conclude without a mortgage offer.
No.
Because really you're committing your clients to something when they haven't necessarily got absolute even though they've had approval at the beginning.
Exactly.
That offer really is the thing that you hold on to, isn't it, I would imagine?
I know, it absolutely is, because if I was to conclude missives for my client and then the lender for some reason decided not to lend, then they're bound in to buy this property and they'd be in breach of contract, but they wouldn't be able to afford to buy it because they don't have the mortgage offer. And lenders in this economy, I suppose, in the world that we live in now, they change it, their rates change all the time, their risk indicators go up and down all the time, and people who think they can get a mortgage, then maybe for reasons, personal circumstances change very quickly too. So we always want to know that mortgage offer's there.
Yeah.
But once you've got that in your hand, you're good to go. You're confident.
You're confident. Yeah, you're confident, and your deposit's in place. You're confident.
Well, something that we like to ask in these episodes is if you guys have any good news stories from any first-time buyers.
There must be.
I think the good news for first-time buyers at the moment is that the market is significantly calmer than it's been in recent years. There's a huge amount of choice available. I had a quick scan on ESPC.com earlier, and there's something like 514 fixed-price properties on there at the moment. So, that really simplifies the system. And can make things very straightforward for first-time buyers as well. Good opportunity to step onto the property ladder with a bit of breathing space, a bit of time on your side. Things aren't selling quite like hotcakes like they were. Percentage being paid over home reports much lower than it was. That's the good news story for first-time buyers at the moment is choice and timing is very much on your side. Lots of good success stories from people taking that first step onto the property ladder, that they've either been able to buy a better property than they initially thought that they were going to be able to buy, or that the process has been really straightforward for them because it's been clearly explained by their solicitor. So lots of nice feedback like that, but I'm not sure if there's a unique.
Have you had you mentioned fixed prices then, we've spoken a lot about that. With your seller's hat on, have you had any seller that's accepted an offer below the fixed price?
That does happen.
So that's an interesting situation,
happens.
isn't it?
People People buy and sell houses for myriad reasons. You know, it's not just about the property market going upwards or whatever that trajectory might be that the mainstream media get absolutely fixated on. It's, you know, the reasons for moving might be that they've found another property that they want to buy and they can afford to take a little bit less because they're not having to pay as much over home report value on the one that they wanted to buy that they were going to have to pay, that there's a bit of flexibility because they are selling to a chain-free first-time buyer who can, you know, work well on time scale as well as on the finances. So there's, you know, there's currencies other than money involved in buying a property.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Peace of mind and time,
Yeah.
you know, absolutely. That's good, and it's interesting to hear that there are offers. Again, hope for first-time buyers out there that they can offer, you know, and potentially below the fixed price, and it would be considered.
Yeah, I did see one question recently that I think is worth addressing, is that if that fixed price is underneath the home report value, you can only mortgage against the value that you're buying for. You can't then take a mortgage up to the home report value and, you know, have a better deposit or whatever. 110%. That's not going to work. You know, the mortgage lender is lending on either the home report value or the purchase price, whichever is lower.
Yes, good. Yeah,
and that's a really good point, because some buyers really struggle to get their head around that. Yeah. And definitely, that's the big one.
Okay. Well, we're going to ask you what's the outlook for first-time buyers, but I think we've discussed that.
It's good.
Yeah, it is good.
And as you say, it comes down to circumstances, doesn't it? When it's right for a first-time buyer to buy, you know, we saw this debate, didn't we? We were talking about it last week on the show, weren't we? About people saying, well, we're going to wait off till the house prices drop even further, or drop further, or drop.
Meanwhile, you're paying rent to a landlord that's going up and up and up, potentially. I mean, I know there's rent caps and various other things, but new rental properties coming onto the market are more expensive than they have ever been. And the sooner you start paying your mortgage and you're paying off your mortgage, that's money in your pocket, not the landlord's. So once you've got that deposit saved and you're ready and in a position to buy, crack on. There's no point waiting for the market to crash or whatever you might be hoping would happen. Particularly when you look at Edinburgh as a historically extremely resilient market. Exactly. We're buffered by our status as a capital city. We've got really good projected population expansion here. You know, Edinburgh and the Lothians population expansion represents 75% of the population expansion for the whole of Scotland. There's a finite amount of property in central locations as well. It's a geographically small area hemmed in by the Pentlands in one direction and the Firth of Forth in another. So, you know, the opportunity here to buy a property and for that to be a sound investment as well as a place to live is good. But I think if you focus on having a place to live that you can afford, then you're not going to go far wrong.
What a great place to leave it, I think.
Sorry, that was a rant from me.
Not at all. Caitlin, have you anything else?
Just what Amy said, really.
And talk to me early.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Get organised. But I agree. What's the point in waiting? You know, the situation changes all the time. And I think you're right. And rents are going up and up. And quite often, you know, I have clients who say to me, do you know, our mortgage payments are actually going to be cheaper than our rent. Yeah. And they're delighted. And as you say, you're paying somebody else's mortgage. It's dead money. You're just throwing money away. So if you're in a position to buy, just, get on with it.
Yeah. Okay. Right, I think we will leave it there. It's a great tail into the show, isn't it?
I know. Thank you both so much. I think there's lots of useful information there for any first-time buyers.
I enjoyed that. Thank you for coming in.
Great.
We'll see you. We'll have you back, definitely. And yes, thanks for your time. Speak to you soon. Cheers.
Thanks.
So thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed that. We found that very informative. And it's great to speak to people who are on the ground and are dealing with these things every day. And hope for first-time buyers. I mean, that should be a little motto we have, and it should be our mission statement. But I thought it was interesting when they spoke about fixed prices and offers being accepted below the fixed price.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as Paul said, hopefully that gives you some optimism going into the market as a first-time buyer. And as both Caitlin and Amy said, you should get a solicitor in place as soon as you can. So if you're looking to find a solicitor, you can head to espc.com, hit on the agents tab, and you can search by area, and you can see all your local ESPC solicitor estate agents as well.
Definitely. So when you leave school, get yourself a solicitor, then a job, pass your driving test, and then one day buy a property. But no, I think they did make the point really well about getting a solicitor early just puts you in a very strong position when you're negotiating.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, as Paul said, thanks for listening. If you want to leave a rating or a review if you enjoyed the episode, please do so. Otherwise, we will see you next week.
We will. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.